Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
I'm Uncle Dan.
I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
Correct. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles, and with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields.
Jesus, Mark. We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Guys,
hello.
Hey.
And dear listeners, we welcome you back to the How-To Heretic Old Time Radio Hour.
That's right. Here we are, the Trilateral Commission.
Yes, the deep fried uncles, and episode 89. It's a good one. It's a fun one.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about an exciting new amount of storage space that's opened up in the local area.
We just need to figure out where to knock.
Yeah, where's the door?
And then I am going to thoroughly terrify you boys when you actually do a Google image search.
That's right. And then I got some questions.
You got
I got some
this guy
questions for
got
you.
questions. All right.
Yeah, so it's terrific. You're going to love this as much as we did. So come on in. The water's fine. Let's do a show.
Uncle Dan,
Hey, Uncle Doug.
how we doing?
Good. I'm feeling a little loony.
A little loony?
Yeah,
a little lunar tuner?
I'm a bit of a lunatic.
Yeah. Well, we covered on the show a while back the Hollow Earth.
Oh, did we?
We did. Uncle Mark did.
If you dig down,
Yeah.
you get nothing.
The truth of the Hollow Earth. Yes,
Like,
the truth of the
not
Hollow
not
Earth. Yeah.
unlike my own soul.
Yeah.
If you dig down deep, there's nothing there.
Well, it turns
That's right.
out that there are other celestial bodies that might have
The Hollow Dan.
Yes. Well, that's a totally different theory. But Uncle Mark, you have some more interesting knowledge about our solar system.
It's This Week in Hollow, fellas. It's our weekly installment. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a preamble to it, which is, the idea that the three of us, I hope anyway, like to pride ourselves as being healthy skeptics, right? And
healthy.
we try to, healthily skeptical, not in any
Oh,
way.
yeah.
not
Okay,
in,
good,
not in
good.
body. Okay.
Yeah, the rest
No.
because
Good
we're
Lord.
all letting our things go to shit right now.
I'm doing this from an iron lung, which is also hollow. So, young listeners, look that up. It was really a thing. It was awful. So
It's not the Radiohead album.
no. So we try to bring a skeptical approach to any major truth claims, and I feel like generally we try not to make claims ourselves without some good evidence to support them, including our Wonder Bible sponsorship.
Right.
And we're pretty suspicious of people who make major claims with no evidence. Except, shut up, that's what I believe, and you have to respect it. That's my freedom of speech.
Right.
Or something along those lines.
Exactly,
So
Uncle Doug.
Shut up.
You shut up.
It's what I
You
believe.
shut up. Guys, we talked about this in the meeting. So
That's right. Use
I
your
hate to
your
malign-
fists, not your words.
I hate to malign anybody's application of the skeptical method. In fact, I would rather encourage anyone's casting a critical eye on some long-held belief and searching for the actual truth of a thing. However, skepticism can be misapplied or just stopped short.
Yeah.
Like leading to a rabbit hole of idiocy, often deeper than the one the poor skeptic was trying to dig out of in the first place.
Right.
So we had an excellent conversation about this with Professor Jim in episode 4, where he talked about Occam's razor and Occam's younger cousin, Hanlon's razor. Well worth a listen for any budding skeptics out there. And since we're just over a month away from the 50th anniversary of a very amazing event, the first human beings walking on the surface of another fucking planet, that being our friendly neighborhood moon, I thought it was a fine time to dust off the fringe theorists' fringe theory, the hollow moon.
Oh, boy.
Woohoo! Woohoo! And no, uncles, I shall not be talking about Brigham Young's dead certainty that he shared with Mormon church founder Joseph Smith that the moon was inhabited by industrious, long-living, and tall Quakers.
Yeah.
Nor the 1961 declaration by then Mormon apostle Joseph Fielding Smith that men would never walk on the moon. Again, he said this in 1961. But it is not these blockbuster truths revealed to his earthly mouthpieces in Salt Lake City I will be discussing. Today, Dear uncles, it is the hollow moon.
Hurrah.
You see, according to a few, but not nearly few enough people, Neil Armstrong and interplanetary pugilist Buzz Aldrin were not walking on the dusty surface of a lifeless rock that daily tugs at our oceans. Tide goes in, tide goes out, never a miscommunication, right? But rather, they trod upon a dusty layer of camouflage, hiding the 20-mile-thick titanium hull of a cleverly hidden alien observatory sent from a place unknown for reasons unknown and inhabited by beings unknown, because why not?
Right.
Are you talking about the Death Star?
It's a base, yes.
Why
it's
not?
A Death Star. There, in a lot of these conspiracy websites, there's actually a GIF of Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, "That's no moon."
No moon. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There you
Like
go.
they almost have a tiny bit of a sense of humor about it, but like most conspiracy theorists, they have no sense of humor about anything. So, you know, uncles, yeah.
No. Go on.
I was going to say, we've tasted the coppery tinge of this derp a time or two before on our show with, as Doug mentioned at the top, crazy Rodney Clough, a good Mormon guy and a kindly anti-Semite, and the leading proponent of the Hollow Earth theory, as discussed in episode 52, and, of course, the Kwisatz Haderach of the unified field theory of fringe dumbassery, David Icke, peace be upon him, who we met in episode 42, sitting on his hot rock.
Are you actually doing a thing this week, or are you just like sampling?
It's a clip show.
shows?
Well, this is what's fucking hilarious is anytime you talk about conspiracy theory, it leads to all the others.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
like
It really does. It's so funny.
it really does.
Time is a derp circle.
That's right.
Yeah,
All of the
exactly.
rabbit holes eventually lead to the same Warren.
But Doug, that circle is flat. Don't forget.
That's right.
And it won't surprise you to know that lizard hobbyist David Icke is very much a believer in the hollow moon.
Oh, right.
As he is in literally everything else scrawled on the walls of humanity's rubber room. He proposed that the hollow moon transmits what we call reality to Earth from the artificially engineered rings of Saturn, but the signal actually originates from both the constellation Draco and the lower fourth dimension. I would prove all this
Okay.
is the absolute truth, but it seems Uncle Dan has run out of chalk, which is rude.
And I've been trying to use it on a whiteboard, which the chalk just isn't working. So
Well, I was going to tell the list. Unfortunately, it's an audio medium, but the picture of Mohammed that he's drawn on the blackboard is a triumph.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
I couldn't erase that anyway. You really captured his nuptials with Aisha.
Uncle
right.
Doug does not condone the views of this podcast.
that's okay. He's not going to be on it for very long anyway.
However, this theory about our nightly visitor and orbital traveling companion, the moon, did not originate with the clownish Ike, but rather by two members of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, Michael Vasin and Alexander Sherbakov. And they theorized this in 1970, not even a full year after Neil and Buzz had actually walked on the moon. So good timing, I guess. Now, the Soviets, in addition to being straight-up ballers when it came to strapping handsome young farm boys to ginormous rockets and beating our asses into space, were also into some super weird shit. They had official training programs for paranormal abilities and ufology. I have a hard time saying that word. UFOlogy. Dan, you may not know that in 1991, Doug and I stayed with the family of a government-trained ufologist when we visited the USSR.
Oh my God.
And he told us some tidbits of his secret training.
Oh wow.
I'd kind of forgotten about that, Doug, until I was reading this. I'm
Right
like,
until you brought that up, I'd forgotten about it.
Are you
too.
still in contact? We need to reestablish contact with this guy.
Let me establish mental contact with him right now.
Yeah. We barely had contact with him while we were there, but that's another story. And according to skeptical author Jason Colavito, there was a propaganda push in the Soviet Union for the ancient astronauts theory, such as those in Erich von Däniken's Chariots of the Gods, as a way to counter the religious explanations for the creation of the world and all the life on it that was common in the decadent West. So they were really pushing this. So for the first and last time ever, ridiculous balderdash disseminated as part of a Russian disinformation campaign caught traction with soft-brained Americans. That's one for the history books, fellas.
Yeah.
God, that never happened again.
Never heard of that.
Yep.
But, I mean, it's a scary thing. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it can't happen now.
And I, for one, would
Yeah.
like to welcome our new Soviet overlords.
That's right.
But why has this insanity caught hold of some vulnerable people's fever dreams? And is it just to fill an hour a week on the criminally misnamed History Channel? Well, like all conspiracy theories, it has some underlying mysteries and anomalies. The moon has what's called asynchronous or tidally locked orbit, as anyone who's ever looked at it will know, which means it only ever shows us its one side. It's a little odd.
What is it hiding, really?
What is it hiding? Our monoatomic gold. It has a lower density than Earth, so okay. There's a higher than expected titanium presence in its rock samples.
There you
Copy
go.
high titanium. NASA crashed a thing into it, and the seismometers picked up weird vibrations and a ringing sound, which, okay, that's odd. I can see why people think that's not normal for a moon.
Yeah.
But what is normal for a moon?
Yeah, exactly.
There are 193 things we describe as moons in this solar system. Jupiter, that big moon hog, has 79 of them.
Yeah.
Some moons are huge, and some are very tiny. Some appear to be just cold, dead rock. Some have active volcanoes. At least one we know of has an ice crust over a massive global ocean, and at least 25 of them are believed to be tidally locked to their planet, just like our moon is. So,
And Mercury.
and we know all this. Actually, I just read that Mercury is not tidally locked. That
What?
its orbit.
I think
No.
I read this too. It's really, really slow, right?
And we only see the one side of it in its rotation, but it is actually rotating as it goes around the sun. So,
None of this makes any sense.
Doug, you're wrong.
So
anyway,
is the
Cody-
only
Cody, cut
really
that out.
important question about Mercury is whether or not it's retrograde, because
Yes.
then we know how everybody's going to act for
And-
a week or something.
Is it hollow?
Also,
Because of course it's hollow.
It's
because I'm
obviously
having
hollow.
a case of the Mondays, so it's in retrograde. So, and we know all this about the moon, all these moons, even though we've only bodily visited one of them. So, in this tiny sample size, what the fuck is normal for a moon? It's a bit less dense than its neighbor, and it's just the right size to perfectly hide the sun in an eclipse. Okay, fuck it, I'm convinced that this is the only possible explanation, is that it's a hollow spaceship sent from other place to do something.
right,
Obviously.
and
Get moon woke, sheeple.
their mission, which only lasts a mere 30 million years or something like that.
Billions of years. So I found a debunking of an article originally published last year on a site called Mysterious Earth, titled CIA Releases Documents of Moon. Moon has 250 million citizens.
Yeah,
For some reason, I find citizens a funny choice rather than inhabitants. Like they all have moon birth certificates or something.
they do. They do. They have, but it is so hard to get that moon passport. You just
Moon
can't.
citizen.
You cannot get off of that.
You have to start with a moon visa.
Yeah.
And it bears noting that this site is no longer there. So take from that what you will.
You know
But-
what? That only goes to prove the conspiracy.
That's precisely right.
As
But
does anything that happens will serve to prove the conspiracy, no matter what.
Is proof of,
Right.
not proof against.
Right.
But the debunking talks about the common fallacy employed by half-cocked conspiracy theorists called appeal to possibility, meaning that because a thing is theoretically possible, it therefore must be true. Which, dear listener, if you follow all the way to the end, means every fucking thing is true because in theory, nothing is totally impossible. So
Except,
what's so
except
vexing.
Doug in a stable relationship. Ba-boom!
hollow Doug. So that's what's
That's
so
not a
vexing
theory.
about.
That's a law.
I'm full of whiskey.
That's what's so vexing about people all tangled up in conspiracy theories, as we talked about at length with Michael Marsh in episode 78 when we were discussing the conspiratorial mindset. Everything is possible, and therefore it's all basically true. So you rarely find a flat earther or hollow mooner who stops there.
Right.
You know,
right.
that leads to 9/11 truthing, which leads to anti-vaxxing, which leads to QAnon and Hillary Clinton running a global child sex trafficking ring out of the basement of a pizza place with no basement.
And who is Joy Behar really? Can we get to the bottom of this? God damn it.
And just a quick note for any QAnon listeners out there. There actually is a massive international pedophile syndicate. It's called the Vatican.
Right.
And you can get mad about that if you want. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so that leads to
break
lizard
into
people
that.
and break into the basement of the Vatican. Oh, my God, can you imagine what's going on down there? So, all this leads to lizard people, and then, of course, ultimately, the Jews.
The Jews, right? Yeah, of course.
All conspiracy theory roads lead to Jerusalem for some reason. So, and we probably all know somebody who watched Loose Change, and they just disappeared into a fog of paranoia and credulity forever. We all have that guy at work that just was never the same again. So, for a certain mindset, conspiracy theories have such a strong appeal. If you hate elites and are sick of, quote, experts and, quote, college professors acting like they know everything, and maybe you've been left behind socially or economically, to suddenly believe that, no, it's actually you that has special knowledge, that they're wrong and they've always been wrong, that's pretty empowering, even if it's insane. So, mercifully, other than constant repeat on the, again, inexcusably misnamed History Channel, there isn't a lot of information on this idiot idea of the hollow moon, a fact which spared me this week from my usual many, many hours of angry rabbit holing. So that's the hollow moon theory, guys.
Boom. All right.
If you gotta believe in something, why not believe in that? Because unlike the God of the Bible, at least the moon shows itself on the regular.
Right, that's true. Although sometimes it's shy and hides.
It's shy.
What do
It's
we
a
got?
shy moon.
What do we got? A waxing gibbous right now? I don't know.
Well, you'd be shy if you were hollow too.
I waxed my gibbous on the way over here.
You should do it
Hey-o.
regularly. Well, thank you, Uncle Mark.
Yeah, thanks.
That was not at all enlightening. So let's move on.
Say, Uncle Doug.
Hello.
There's just the three of us on this show for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think from time to time it's great to meet somebody new.
I always think it's nice to meet people.
It is weird that we only know just the three of us.
It's
in
strange.
general.
It's a little strange. By sight, anyway.
It's a pretty small world we inhabit, and so we want to make a new friend today.
Yeah. I think Uncle Dan has a new friend for us to meet.
Well, are you guys willing to travel for this one? Because we're leaving the U.S. of A. I hope you're comfortable.
Is it like
sure.
a whimsical travel?
Yeah.
Are we doing a root beer powered dirigible?
Yes, yes, indeed. It's the only way I want to travel for the rest of my life. Now that you've said that, I don't know why.
It's comfort plus.
Why the hell did you just say that? But I want it so badly now. Okay, we owe this one, by the way, to listener Sean, who's been gently prodding me to do this guy for since we began the show on Facebook. So, hi, Sean. This is
You're
your
on
fault.
blast, Sean, from the heretic.
This is 100% your fault.
Yeah.
Look, we've talked about faith leaders before, or faith healers rather before.
Yeah.
Peter Popoff, Benny Hinn, Gwyneth Paltrow. They all purport to circumvent that nonsense chicanery known as Western medicine and heal people's ailments with the thoroughly proven power of Jesus magic.
Yes.
Whatever you're suffering from, whether it's a case of cancer of the paps, or just you've come down with a bad case of the usher just sat me down in this wheelchair-itis, these upstanding citizens are here to help. Here's the thing. I tend to think of this as a largely American phenomenon. Not sure why. Maybe it's just that that's all I hear about because that's where I'm from. Or maybe I just think of Americans as particularly susceptible to the stupidest forms of magical thinking. But fellas, I'm very disappointed to report that this is not unique to our credulous corner of the world.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
So follow me, won't you, to post-World War II Germany, where the nation was busy picking up the pieces of their war-torn country and repairing the psychological wounds that engaging in a genocide and an attempted continental power grab can inflict.
Yeah, that's a bad hangover.
It's a rough one.
Yeah,
everybody has to do that thing and then try and
we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I've had to piece together some what happened the night before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so that's where they were at. It was a country in a lot of emotional and physical pain, and they needed a hero. And that hero showed up in the rather alarming person of Bruno Gröning.
Oh boy.
Bruno Gröning.
Yes, indeed. I got to say,
Willkommen, Bruno.
thank you to that. Yes. More often than not, when I look at the faces of the spiritual leaders of the world, I don't see what their followers are so fired up about. You know, whether it's Rajneesh or John of God or whatever, I look at them and I do not see any of the inner glow that the faithful keep assuring everyone they can see.
Your LRHs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes very baffling. I mean, there's a disconnect there that I don't understand. That is way more true of our boy Bruno. I don't know. I've looked at dozens of pictures of this guy, and yikes.
I'm just pulling him up right now.
Please do so.
Lord.
It's the
Oh,
face.
Jesus. I just Googled it.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I gotta say though, if there is a more perfect visage for Vigo the Carpathian, in
That's
Ghostbusters,
exactly it.
I step on your line.
You jumped on it, but that's okay. This is the guy. It's the face that I imagine haunts Werner Herzog's nightmares. He looks like the actor David Lynch wouldn't cast because he was just too creepy.
I know you're going to get to this, but I just scrolled down to some other photos of him.
No, don't.
I'm
Don't
alarmed.
say nothing.
I'll say nothing.
We'll get to it.
Ooh.
Yeah, but for those listeners at home who don't have Google machines,
Oh, dear God.
Picture-
Okay, yeah. I won't say anything.
picture a
Sweet
long,
Jesus.
gaunt face with very severe features and eyes that look like they're perpetually imagining the death of a puppy and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the portrait model for Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2, for sure. He never smiled. Like, you guys are all looking at pictures of him, like, none of them are him smiling. Every picture, he looks like he was only half paying attention to whoever he was talking to, because one half of his brain was always obsessively contemplating violent revenge on his enemies.
Holy Lord.
Which feels a little weird because his teachings seemed to center around the healing power of love. So when you look at that guy, think love.
Oh, boy.
Actually, so what's interesting is that his ideas are pretty familiar to us at this point. The themes form, gentlemen, as we discuss these weirdos. A combination of God can cure anything, because he definitely was a God dude, and the power of positive thinking with a little bit of mystical life force / energy wave nonsense thrown in.
Seems like there's one thing God couldn't cure, but sure, we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, we'll get to a bunch of stuff. Anyway, here, try this on for something we've heard before. He claimed that his teachings were not a new religion, but were ancient beliefs that had been lost, and that God had revealed these ways to him.
Yeah.
Anything
good.
familiar?
Familiar,
about that?
yeah.
All right.
Standard to the form, yep.
So, to be honest, it was actually pretty tricky trying to suss out an actual belief system from the scraps of info I found on the internet. There was a lot of be good to each other and a very weird sense of get back to nature with no explanation of what that actually means. But he also was very into not thinking negatively. You don't focus on bad health, you focus on good health. You don't think about sad or difficult things weighing on you. He said, I have a broad back. Give me your burden. Put a pin in that.
Okay.
And we'll come back to it. There was also a belief that seems to be similar to the Force. I'm not sure what it was actually about. He called it Heilstrom, which means a healing stream or healing wave. Sort of a godly life force that one can absorb with some sort of quasi-meditative practice. So there are a lot of seemingly contradictory ideas within his oeuvre. He didn't have to be there for healings to happen, but when he was there, miracles abounded. There's an interesting thing about Gröning, which is that unlike the faith healers that we know about, are kind of a cult of personality, right? It's about the man. It's about the person. But he's unique in the sense that people seem to keep believing his shit after he's dead.
Really?
Which is unusual because, usually a faith healer's got to, do a thing.
Right.
to heal you. And it seems like he did. I mean, he gathered lots of things. 90% of the stories that you hear about, he was there for, and then the person got healed or whatever. But let me quickly jump into a quick timeline of his life, and we'll let Mark deal with the police that are knocking on his door any moment.
I gotta go, guys. See ya.
Here's a quick timeline. He was born in 1906 in what was then Danzig, part of the German Empire.
Of course he was.
Now Gdansk, Poland. And of course, you Gdansk if you want to. So as a child, he had a very interesting Joseph Smith moment where apparently he went into the woods to pray, and God talked to him, and was given, and he was sort of given information that were like the powers that he would later use to heal. And that's,
it's interesting how you always have to be alone for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, he did that. He was eventually, I think, some of this information is sketchy, but I think he was conscripted into the German army in World War II, and possibly taken as a prisoner of war in the USSR or in Russia, and then.
Good times.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, if I saw this guy running at me across a battlefield, I think I'd surrender.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I would think it was the Highlander coming at me.
Eventually, so in 1949 is when he got famous for curing a kid of MS in Hereford, according to the kid's dad. And this made headlines, not international, national headlines.
Yeah.
And then he started to draw crowds all over the place, eventually drawing crowds of up to 30,000 people.
Really?
Yeah. People would hear that he was coming, and they would all just fucking gather. I mean, he was a big draw.
It seems like you said, this would be a ripe time and place for good news.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Even if it does take the form of the worst, most terrifying facial hellscape known to mankind. So anyway, he was eventually sort of banned from practicing his healing.
Really?
Because he wasn't licensed to do so, and there was a lot of claims of charlatanery.
Wait, there's a licensing system for that?
Yeah, it's called medicine.
This is Germany. We are a place of good ideas.
Yeah.
But yes, he was not a doctor, and therefore
I see. There's not a shaman license in Germany.
No, he was but there, so he was told he couldn't practice for a long time. This was very upsetting to him and many of his followers. Eventually so basically 10 years after his big splash in the national spotlight, he died. So that was in 59. So there you go. That's his timeline.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We'll get to now the thing that I've been trying to push back from you guys.
Look,
which
I
is
I don't want to be ableist about this, so it is
but look, a very odd thing when you look at a picture of a guy who claims to be a magical healer, and you see, as he develops through his years, a very prominent goiter.
Prominent is the kindest word you could apply to that goiter.
Yeah, his lower neck quadrupled in circumference.
Oh, my Lord in
over
heaven.
the years.
Yeah, he's got one of those airport pillows.
Right, which he's wearing,
rest his head on,
which he's wearing frontwise.
Oh,
yeah.
So I mean, something that alarming does seem like it would be a bit of a red flag in a healer.
yeah.
I finally I looked and looked and looked for anything about that, and finally, in the middle of a documentary that was made by believers, which they're the only people who would make a documentary about him, probably. Which, by the way, Gamcast might want to look in. I don't know.
Really?
They don't tend to do docs, but my goodness, it's very.
Oh no, they do. They do. They could totally do it.
Anyway,
we'll send it to Eli.
Yeah, exactly. So he basically said that it wasn't a goiter, but was just a gland that grew big when he could talk, when he was allowed to talk to a lot of people.
Okay.
And when when he wasn't allowed to talk to a lot of people, when he was only allowed to talk to a few people, it got smaller. And then if he was banned from talking people, it got very small. And that was when it felt bad. If he could button that top button, he was a miserable son of a bitch.
First of all,
but he felt good when it was big.
If he said it was not a goiter, he had to have said it in a German accent. It's not a goiter.
That is an Austrian accent, I will have you know.
Polish, actually.
Yeah.
But that's what a goiter is a swollen gland.
Yes, it is. Correct. You are correct about that.
And it's incredibly treatable.
Well, not by his methods, apparently.
Yes.
So he claimed it fluctuated depending on his mood, kind of like a breeding frog. Is that?
Yes, indeed. Only it wasn't his
It's
mood.
like an erection.
It was about how many people he was allowed / could draw to address. But here's the thing. It was more than just, it wasn't a sickness, you guys. That's where everybody else's sickness went.
See, that's what I'd say.
You ready for this? Remember when he said, "Give me your burden"?
Yeah.
I've got a strong back.
I'm pulling the pin out of that one because apparently that's where he put it.
Oh.
Bruno Gruning's neck goiter was his version of Jesus bleeding in Gethsemane.
So he was a marsupial. He could.
Hey, man. When
He
life
just
gives
put
you,
all the hurt in the pouch.
That's right.
When life gives you goiters.
That's right. So apparently that was what it was. When he suffered for everyone else's pain, and if you were able to rise up out of your wheelchair, which a lot of people claimed to have been able to do,
Yeah.
your infirmity lodged itself in his neck.
Oh, God.
Well, and he could just have some iodine. I think that's like the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
well, shut up. Because there are a lot of people that needed that healing.
Boy,
So,
there are some photos of him having just taken on a lot of people's pain.
yeah. So anyway,
poor
there you go.
Weird guy.
Yeah.
The dude dies, apparently of cancer at age 52. Again, red flag for healers.
Yeah.
Right.
Roughly 10 years after he started healing people. And yet, people still, to this day, follow his teachings. So that's pretty impressive to me and seems strange. Several groups claim to follow...
it's like...
Yeah.
It's like an artist's work, right? Picasso's value went up the second he died. And maybe it's the same. He's on the other side now.
You can't buy someone else's healing. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, you can try.
But here's the thing. Apparently, his teachings are enough to heal you. He doesn't have to be there. And there are several groups which have popped up that claim to follow his teachings, including the Circle of Information, the Bruno Gröning Trust, the Bruno Gröning Friends, Association for the Advancement in Germany of Spiritual and Natural Psychological Foundations for Living.
Whoa.
Rolls right off the tongue.
In
does.
German, that takes 15 minutes to say.
Yes, and also you lose some of your lung capacity.
Yeah.
The Association for Natural Spiritual Living, the Bruno Gröning Circle of Friends, and Help and Healing Sessions. Circle of Friends seems to be a big one. Anyway, I couldn't find how they all interact with each other or which groups are rivals. I don't know if they all claim to be the real Gröning group and the other ones are just fakers, but all of those groups seem to be, and so they're still out there, they're still practicing, they're still trying to sort of convert people. I saw one delightful little part of a documentary video about a kid going from Germany to Cuba and healing some people there in Cuba through the power of Gruno and the language of Esperanto, which I think was delightful.
Oh my God.
But there you have it. It's not just us. This is something that happens to credulous simpletons the world over.
Wow.
Including
Well, good job,
apparently
Germany.
Including apparently listener Sean's mom. Which I don't mean to call your mom a simpleton, Sean. Sorry.
Definitely not the worst thing to come out of Germany in the 1940s.
Right? Yeah.
It's like the third.
Right.
It's top three. Yeah.
It's Volkswagen, and then it's and then it's him. So there you go. Go get yourself some healing wave, some magic powers,
Get some iodine pills.
and go stuff your problems into somebody's neck.
Yeah, all that makes sense. Well, let's move on.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, uncles both.
Yes.
Yes.
Listen, we have much in this world to be thankful for. We were good Mormon boys. We were raised with the idea that we owe things to somebody, that we owe thanks to somebody.
And after that last segment, I'm very thankful that I received the proper amount of iodine growing up.
Yes, indeed.
Iodine.
Are you guys watching Chernobyl, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
The iodine thing. You got to watch it. It's on HBO.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Like fucking terrifying, but amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's why Doug keeps saying iodine.
That's right.
Anywho, look, we try and do a show, but a whole bunch of people listen to it, and some of those people,
The blessed.
give us money for doing it, and they are
The elect.
They are the good ones. So I wanted to give thanks to them, and we will do so. So these people went to howtoheretic.com and clicked on the whatever tab it
Support
is.
us.
Support us tab. and
It keeps changing somehow. I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah. I mean, we like to keep it interesting anyway.
Keep it fresh.
So we owe great thanks to them. So thank you so much to Michael, Karen, Daniel, good name, and John.
Hey, John.
Yay.
Thanks, y'all.
So you know, you get to choose the level at which you give. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be $1 an episode. It can be $1 million an episode.
Yeah.
There's no
a lot
upper
gets
limit.
you a lot more, though. A lot gets you a lot more love. There's no upper limit. It's infinite.
Yeah.
So give what you can. Give till it hurts. And then go someplace and give us 5 stars. A lot of people have been doing that on iTunes recently, and it just means the world to us.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're not if you enjoy the show and you have means and you haven't started giving to us yet, well then you're a piece of shit and you need to start. You need to change something. in your
Damn.
life.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Let's go to the next segment. It's going to be a fun one. Okay, now. Bye.
I kid. We love you all. But yes, thank you so much to them as give, and let's move on.
Well, Uncle Dan,
Yeah.
have you been honest in all your dealings with your fellow man?
I mean,
You remembered that one.
I'm not sure. I could. You know what? I don't want to answer to you. You
Yeah.
are not the bishop of me.
Well, I'm only an Aaronic priesthood holder.
That's right.
Ironically.
Yes,
think we have-
you're a member of the Ironic priesthood.
That's true. And we have a member of the Melchizedek priesthood here, which is a very funny word to say with a Mormon accent. Melchizedek.
That sound you hear is all of our Nevermo listeners just clicking off the podcast.
Right? Yeah, exactly. If you've never been a Mormon,
Congratulations.
yeah. First of all, you're a lucky sumbitch, and second of all, strap in. We're about to learn some stuff. Uncle Doug, can we call you Elder Doug?
Why not?
We're gonna learn some stuff. Give us some background. Tell us what we're dealing with here.
Well, uncles, there's this newfangled religion out there that keeps making headlines, much like a corduroy pillow. It's called the Mormon Church. Have you guys heard about this?
more men.
It's actually not called
this
the Mormon
this
Church,
is Gay
friends.
Pride. It's Gay Pride Week here
That's
in Salt
right.
Lake, so it's called the Mormon Church.
Mormon. And it is no longer called the Mormon Church because of the current ancient prophet.
Right? Yes.
Although scrubbing Mormon from all of their literature has been harder than it would have seemed.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's high time we finally take a closer look at this dynamic, exciting faith.
Sure.
Finally.
Tell us more.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't talked about it enough on this show, so we definitely need to dig in.
So, as our listeners certainly know, the Mormon Church has been taking fire from all directions for continuing to promulgate the fever dreams of 19th century dirt farmers, racists, bigots, and child rapists.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
There's no new ideas. There's just good ideas. We've covered many of these terrible things in the past couple of years. One that we've touched on is the highly problematic and obviously dangerous practice of forcing young children, preteens, and teenagers to be alone in a room with an untrained adult man to discuss their sexual experiences or lack thereof.
I mean, that's not the only reason they're there. It's just the most important reason they're there.
It's these interactions are called bishops' interviews and are held for all members, usually twice a year, to maintain a temple recommend. And for those who don't know, a temple recommend is like the world's worst credit card, entitling the holder to dress like, as Uncle Mark said back in episode 28, a baker at a children's television show.
Yes.
And carry out rituals for the dead.
Yes.
These interviews usually start at around age 11 and then are a regular part of a Mormon's life until the sweet release of death. So wholly predictable instances ranging from mere ickiness to full-fledged sexual abuse have been in the news of late, mostly pushed out by the good people at protectldschchildren.org. These people are doing the Lord's work. Truthfully, they are the mission of this website is not just to stop Mormon bishops' interviews, which are highly problematic, but basically any time a religious authority is ever alone with a child or a youth.
Right.
Because nothing...
It's never happened yet, but it's possible something could go wrong in future.
I think it's prophylactic. We should just be careful, you know?
Yes.
I feel like, so what people should understand is that this bishop's interview that you're talking about is kind of the Mormon version of confession.
Yeah, more or less.
It's basically like you're gonna be asked about your sinnings.
Yep.
And you better tell the goddamn truth.
That's right, it is because as in the Mormon handbook, the bishop's handbook, it says, quote, "As representatives of the Savior, bishops are divinely appointed judges in Israel. In this role, they conduct interviews to determine worthiness and to help youth repent of transgressions."
We should also clarify for those who haven't heard it we've talked about this on other episodes, but this bishop. This is not someone who went to divinity school, has some PhD in theology, and knows what they're talking. This is a plumber in the ward who was just called from the congregation to serve his term. For 6 years,
3 to 5 years, it varies,
and has zero qualifications beyond that.
They're just a guy. Absolutely. Always a guy, but just a guy from your congregation, your ward. Yeah. But when you are called, you are quite literally put on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. You then, during your duration of your tenure, whatever you call it, your bishopcy, you sit above the congregation staring back at them every Sunday for 3 hours.
Yeah. You are the effective parish priest for your term.
That's right. And you are, endowed from your congregation with, huge amount of respect, and the bishop is a very, very important person.
Right. Somehow now magically you're not just the dipshit that lives 2 doors down. You now have
bishop.
You have like magic powers now.
Right. So
and you're giving people sometimes extremely critical life advice, and extremely important life advice about staying with an abusive husband and not breaking up the family. And
that's right.
What to do with your gay son, or what
send your queer kid to conversion therapy. Like it's not just fun and games. Like there's really serious shit that goes down.
Very real consequences. They're having the most important conversations of people's lives. These are people who often will not go to a therapist ever
because you go to the bishop.
But you go to the bishop and you ask for advice and wisdom from a person who got a
boat salesman,
has a bachelor's degree in business administration
at LDS Business College.
Right.
Yeah, no, it is a problematic situation at best. And if you go on to protectldschchildren.org, they have people write in and tell their stories anonymously, and it's the whole range. But it's the tenor of it is basically, I was alone in a room with a man who asked me questions he shouldn't have been asking, and you know what I mean. Like, it damaged me. He told me things that caused me great guilt,
right?
And blah blah blah, regarding myself sexually, regarding my gay son, regarding et cetera, et cetera.
It's interesting because my experience with bishops was always that they were very caring, very kind men who are doing their best.
Yeah.
That's not always the case, but that's usually the case. It doesn't make them qualified to have these fucking conversations.
That's the thing is, no matter how well-intentioned these men are, and most, if not all, are, well, let's give them most, are well-intentioned.
Yeah.
They are not trained. They are not qualified.
Right. And remember, the primary function is to enforce the rules.
Yeah.
A therapist isn't there to enforce rules of some doctrine on you while they're trying to help you, generally, right?
So unless you go see a therapist that's from LDS Social Services.
That's right.
Exactly right. So really the bishop, you go there for help, but what he's going to do is figure out how to keep shoehorning, you into this path regardless of what help you actually need.
Right.
So a lot of damage, it's possible even for well-meaning ones to do a tremendous amount of damage.
Yep, absolutely. And so all of this fire has caused the church to modify its policy on how to conduct these interviews. And the concession they've given is a youth can request that a parent or other adult either sit outside the room or be in the room for the interview.
Right, which totally going to help a kid come clean
exactly
when mom's sitting next to him.
Right.
That is so terrifying to even now.
Yeah.
Thinking back on my 14-year-old self, the notion that I would go tell my bishop about my masturbation while my mom sat in the room,
right,
or my dad sat in the next room, because the thing is, if your interview goes long or you come out crying, well, guess what?
Yeah,
the interrogation begins.
Yeah,
what 15-year-old girl wants their mom outside? When she's confessing. God, it's mind-boggling. Anyway, the church thought we did it. We're done.
We've solved it.
So instead of continuing to delve down all the damage that this has caused, I thought what we could do today was I managed to get the 13 questions for a limited use temple recommend.
Oh.
A limited use temple recommend is the one you get when you're 13 or 14 to do baptisms for the dead.
Oh.
As opposed to a full-fledged temple recommend.
Right.
To
It's just
do all the
it's
weird
a daily
things.
ticket. It's not a season pass.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's a day pass. And I got these 13 questions, and I thought I could ask Uncle Dan. I could actually put you through a bishop's interview.
I have been through.
Oh, is that because I'll automatically fail, Doug?
Have you met
Okay,
Uncle
fine.
Mark?
You guys have your fun. I'll
I
just
thought,
sit
Mark,
over here.
you could be Uncle Dan's a guardian.
Yeah. You're my dad. Sit down next to me,
great.
Dad.
So here
And
are
scowl.
Here are the 13 questions that get asked to by Mormon bishops to every young man, young woman from about 11 years old on, twice a year.
I'm going to imagine that I'm 14.
All right, Uncle Dan. Welcome, Uncle Dan. How are you?
I'm fine.
It's good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're looking good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I like the way those clothes fit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Your clothes seem to be getting tighter. That's weird.
Yeah, don't look at that.
Okay.
Let me get behind my desk so you can't see that. All right, here we go. All right, Dan, welcome. So let's dive in and assess your worthiness to have a limited use temple recommend.
Yes, please.
Question number 1. Do you have faith in and a testimony of God the Eternal Father, His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost?
And since I'm my 14-year-old self, then 100% yes.
Right.
Very much so. I'm on board.
Okay, you're 14. You totally get the nuance of the Trinity.
Shut up. Nope.
You
I
get all
just
that?
believe it.
Okay, good. Okay, check. Do you have a testimony of the atonement of Christ and of His role as Savior and Redeemer?
No idea what that means, but yes.
Okay, is it the atonement part, or is it His role as Savior and Redeemer that's throwing you off here?
Correct. I
Okay.
believe it all, though.
All right. Good enough. Check. Do you have a testimony of the restoration of the gospel in the latter days?
Oh, so much.
Do you, young 14-year-old Dan, know what the latter days means?
No, but I don't care.
Okay, check. Do you sustain the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints
Yes,
as a prophet,
Jesus.
seer, revelator, and is the only person on the earth who possesses and is authorized to exercise all priesthood keys? Do you sustain the members of the first presidency and the quorum of the 12 apostles as prophets, seers, and revelators? Do you sustain the other general authorities and local authorities of the church?
Oh my
Yep.
God! Like a fucking
guess-
14-year-old kid is supposed to have an opinion about all that shit.
Yeah.
Uncle Mark, if you're going to interrupt, I'm going to have to ask you to step out.
You don't get
Okay.
to anymore.
I'm sorry, Bishop.
It's okay. Dan, I need an answer to that question.
Yes, I
Would
sustain.
you like
and
me to repeat the question?
Yes, please say all of that bullshit again.
Here we go. Do you live the law of chastity?
Uh,
Why are you hesitating?
I touched a girl's boobies.
Okay. Did you touch the girl's boobies over the dress or under the dress?
Well, it wasn't a dress; it was a T-shirt. But
Okay.
I did. Oh my God, it's creepy right now, and I'm pretending. And I don't care if you guys know about my sexual history. How am I creeped out right now?
I know, right? And that's the thing, is if you have violated the law of chastity, the bishop needs to know exactly what you've done,
Right.
because the punishment varies depending on you felt her up over her bra or you put your hand down her pants.
Yeah, man. All of those other questions are such a fake out, because
Yeah.
those other questions are just easy. Yes, yes, and then this record scratch question happens.
Blam. Yeah,
well,
no
that's
doubt.
like a polygraph, right? They ask you, what day it is, what your name is.
Did you kill her?
Yeah,
exactly.
They get a baseline.
Yeah, they get a baseline, and then all of a sudden, whammy!
Okay.
It's a technique. It's a total technique.
So-
And Doug, does he need to know the exact transgression, or is it kind of a want to know?
No,
thing?
it's a neat, because the severity of the sexual crime is it's all on a spectrum. So if you just touched her boob, you're probably just going to get a rap on the knuckles. But if
Not literally.
yeah, not literally,
We should be- we
no
should be-
corporal punishment.
Right.
Right. You might not. You might get nothing, but just I forgive you. You're absolved.
Yeah, go pray and
Go pray. But if you put your hand down her pants, or she did something to, God forbid, another girl, you won't be able to take the sacrament for weeks and weeks on end, which is hugely public in the Mormon Church.
Right.
It's
So-
very shameful, and people just automatically assume the worst.
So the bishop is obligated to run down that question. So we will record that session for patrons only.
Yeah,
All right,
it's about to get steamy up in her.
Let's go to question 6. Is there anything in your conduct relating to members of your family that is not in harmony with the teachings of the church? That's a weird one.
Yeah, that is.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I mean, that could be scary, especially now. I mean, imagine that question, and you're sitting next to your abuser.
Oh my God.
Totally.
You're sitting
Well,
next
and
to
again-
someone who's either sexually touched you, your parent who is controlling or whatever. Like you two probably had some experiences with your dad that you would like to talk to the bishop about, but not if he's in the fucking room.
Well, I mean, knowing full well that anything I said was probably going to find its way back to my parents, right?
You had that feeling?
Yeah, I always
for
ass-
sure.
I always assume that with church leaders, because it happened to me all the time.
Yeah.
If you acted up in Sunday school, your parents knew by the time you got home.
That's right.
Right.
Right, and I always assumed I always assumed it was just a snitch-based system.
That's right.
And that question definitely belies that the idea is, to me, protecting the abuser and just enforcing the code and the omerta. Right? It's not about protecting the abused.
No, it's a weird one. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Number 7, Uncle Dan, do you support any group or person whose teachings oppose those accepted by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Are you an apostate? Do you listen?
Should I not have joined the KKK? Is the KKK okay, or is that
KKK is okay by me.
Okay, well, okay, then we're in good shape.
But
They're
this
good
question.
Christian men. They're good Christian men.
But this question is more problematic now than ever before because of podcasts and media and the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, number 8. Do you strive to keep the covenants you have made, to attend your sacrament and priesthood meetings, and to keep your life in harmony with the laws and commandments of the gospel?
I don't
like
know
a
about
waste
do
of
I
time.
strive, but my mom definitely forces me to go to all of those things.
Good enough. Check.
Yep.
All right. Are you honest in your dealings with your fellow man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 14. You know, like what? I lied to my teacher about being sick one time.
All right, let's talk about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a full tithe payer?
For what it's worth, yeah.
14 years old.
All that lawn mowing money that I make.
But that is it is such a membership organization. Like as an
yeah.
adult, You have to once a year go in and prove that you're a full tithe payer.
Yeah.
You have to show you do your tithing settlement where you show your records.
Yeah, so it's they're deadly serious about that tithe. That tithe is a strict 10%.
Yeah, you are in or you are out.
It's
All right.
voluntary, but if you don't volunteer to do it, you're fucked.
Yeah, you don't have to jump out of the burning plane with your parachute, but I would recommend it.
Right, yeah.
Do you keep the word of wisdom?
Oh, and that's we should explain briefly that's the thing about like not drinking alcohol
Not drinking,
and
not smoking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which are really the only parts of the word of wisdom that they care about.
Yeah.
Don't drink and don't do drugs and don't smoke. Even though the word of wisdom has a whole bunch of other stuff about eating meats.
Yeah, if you were pounding down a rare porterhouse while we did this interview, it wouldn't slow things down.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So, Dan, do you keep the word of wisdom?
Yep.
Okay, check.
As a 14-year-old, I do.
Have there been any sins or misdeeds in your life that should have been resolved with priesthood authorities but have not been?
Yeah, not really.
Is there something you're not telling me?
I
think there's something you're not telling me.
I figure we covered the masturbation in the sex question.
Wait. With masturbation?
The law of chastity question.
Yeah.
Uncle Mark, do you want to talk
interesting-
about this?
Oh, sure. What do you want to talk about?
Well,
Like,
yeah,
take
Uncle Mark gets to skate on that one, on the masturbation one.
the usual or the stranger? What kind are we talking about here? But that it's funny how general some of these questions are.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that can cover just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, if I didn't think of masturbation in the chastity question,
There's something, yeah. What
might
else
come
aren't you
up here.
telling me, right?
Because by 14, you know full well you're not supposed to be doing it.
Oh, yeah. And you have a constant boner, so it's a real hard life to live.
You've been doing it a lot.
Default.
Yeah,
Just
there's
walking around the house.
Right,
There's a
exactly.
supply and demand issue with your little factory, and it's
If you, for me, it was every time that Sears catalog came and I flipped to the bra section, I was done
you saw
for.
the sewing machine.
Last question for the part-time membership. Do you consider yourself worthy to enter the Lord's house and participate in temple ordinances?
Well, not anymore. Now that we've talked about all these other things.
I'm afraid, Dan, I'm going to have to give you a part-time pass to the temple.
Yay! I get to go and get wet
What?
in the temple.
Oh. And we should talk about baptism for the dead another time. but
yes, we should.
I just want to, just real quick, there are two other questions that are included in the full-time temple recommend interview. Do you have financial or other obligations to a former spouse or children? If yes, are you current in meeting those obligations?
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a good thing.
They frown on deadbeatery.
I don't hate that. Last, if you have previously received your temple endowment, do you keep the covenants that you have made in the temple? Do you wear the garments both night and day as instructed in the endowment in accordance with the covenant you made in the temple?
That's that pretty Mormon underwear that
We
they
talked about that back in, I think it was episode 28 or something. But
Pretty
So,
sexy
yeah,
stuff.
I don't see any problem with having an adult male interview a 13-year-old girl with these questions. Do you?
Yeah, and I don't see how it could go wrong. A man with no training to sitting down with a girl or a boy and going over their most intimate sexual encounters.
Seems completely undamaging to me.
Yeah, and
Well,
there's there's nowhere that can go wrong in the adult man's mind either.
Well, the positive, what I think is the fail-safe here, is that the child is also trained to look at this person as speaking for God.
Right.
So I think that really brings the power balance into equilibrium.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. What could possibly go wrong when God's own representative is talking to a teenager about their sexuality?
Right. Because remember, God's original own representative, Joseph Smith, talked about how God was going to kill him with a flaming sword if he didn't fuck teenagers. So
That's
I think
right.
the system can't fail here.
The system works. The system works. We're in good shape here.
All right. Well, there you go.
There you go. Okay, well, Bishop Doug, that was creepy and terrifying. So thank you for that.
Anytime.
And I did touch your boobs. So
What?
I'm pretty excited about it.
Give me that
In
card.
the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
And moving on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a picture of a German healer that might terrify us, send it to howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you have anything hollow you'd like to talk about, you can tell us about it on our voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986.
Yes.
And I'm also on Twitter at howtoheretic.
Right. There's also a Facebook page that sometimes we do stuff with. Anyway, thanks so much to our patrons. You're amazing.
And thanks to the amazing Cody Layton for editing our show yet again.
Yes, and thank all of you for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye.